Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. We are so excited for you to join us for the 90 Stories for 90 Years series. Fraternity and Sorority Life has been at DePaul for 90 years, and we are celebrating this milestone by interviewing 90 students, alumni, and advisors about their undergraduate experience. My name is Natalie Stone, and I serve as an assistant director in the Office of Student Involvement. I am really excited to be interviewing our first alumni for this project, Kayley Olson. So I am going to let Kayley kick us off with introducing herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayley Olson. I graduated from DePaul University in 2018. I was a public policy major. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, and I was also a Chi Omega during my experience. And while I was at DePaul, I also served on the Pan-Hellenic board as the vice president of public relations during my senior year.
Awesome. So you have, been out in the real world for about 3 years now. Time has flown by so fast. 'Cause I remember being in OSI with you all the time, whether that was for Panhellenic or you were just hanging out at the front desk. So tell us what you have been up to since graduation.
Yeah, so after graduation, 2 months later, I ended up moving to Vermont, of all places, and I started law school. So now I'm in my third year of law school, which is crazy to think, and I'm about to graduate this May and take the bar exam.
Wow. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about why you chose to go to law school, if there's any particular areas that you are really excited about in the law?
Yeah, so I am going to law school to become an environmental lawyer. And a lot of that stemmed from the work that I did at DePaul University as a public policy major. My concentration was actually environmental sustainability and just learning more about public policy and what you can do with the law. I ended up wanting to go to law school to change and enforce the law as well. And that's why I ended up choosing Vermont Law School. We're top five in the nation for environmental law. And it's been great doing a lot of advocacy work for nonprofits and a lot of intersection with environmental justice, which was, an area of the law I wasn't aware of before going to law school. And I ended up working at our environmental justice clinic. And every single clerkship I've ever had during law school has always intersected with environmental justice. And that's what I plan to go and do later in life, hopefully, as an environmental justice litigator in New England.
Awesome. So it sounds like you've been pretty active while you've been in law school, and I know you were really active while you were at DePaul as well. So can you kind of talk about how your experience in Chi Omega and your role in Panhellenic has helped you achieve your career aspirations?
Absolutely. I honestly don't think I would be where I am today without my sisters, specifically in Chi Omega, but also my Panhellenic sisters that I served on Panhellenic with. A lot of the times, especially the law, it felt like it was hard for a woman to achieve what she wanted to do in the law, especially since it's a very male-dominated career. And all of my sisters were, one, really encouraging, really gave me that girl power that I needed and that feminism to just say that you definitely can achieve anything that you want to do. And as long as you put your mind towards it. And honestly, a lot of my sisters in Chi Omega went on to become lawyers and attorneys and were in law school before I ended up applying. And having their support through it all and just being able to lean off of them, asking them questions of what I should do, what I should look for, was super, super helpful, including one of my advisors from Chi Omega, who's actually an attorney. And so they were just really supportive during my time of applying to law school, figuring out what I wanted to do and if it was the right choice for me. But also just that awesome girl power, that you get from just being an awesome woman, being able to do whatever you want. So I really owe it a lot to all of them.
Yeah, and I remember being the Panhellenic advisor when you were an undergrad, and I think it was really cool to see how you and the Panhellenic Council really came together to move so many really cool projects forward for like the fraternity and sorority life community. And I think, you know, kind of going back to what you say, like having that confidence and empowerment from your sisters, it like can go such a long way. So kind of beyond your, you know, your friendships that you made through Chi Omega and Panhellenic, can you talk about a mentor or advisor that made an impact on your experience?
Oh my gosh, yes. So one of the advisors, she wasn't necessarily my direct advisor. She was technically the advisor for Fraternity Life, but she kind of like helped, was a friend and advisor to us all. We all know and love her. Allie Kalina was a great mentor to me. I absolutely loved her. And she was really big in the realm of just like women empowerment. She really helped me during my essays, like applying to law school and just like figuring out like what I really should highlight and, you know, like things that like they may want to hear and how to write it. And she was really valuable during that process for me. And she was also just like a really great supporter during that time. I think during college, you know, it's a weird transformative experience. You're going from, you know, living with your parents when you're 18 to like now supposed to be on your own, making your own decisions. And life happens. And when you're away from your parents, like I was, I mean, moving from Denver to Chicago, Illinois, having no family, she was just like a really great support system for me for any trouble that I encountered, and just gave me like that, like sisterly advice almost that you really want. And that really goes for all of my experience in Panhellenic and Chi Omega as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think advisors or mentors can make all the difference in your undergraduate experience. So I think for, you know, those undergrads that are listening, you know, I would encourage you, just like Kayley did, to go out and find that mentor or advisor. There's tons of faculty and staff that are so excited to like support and help you along in your journey, because we've like all been there, right? We all like went through those struggles in college, and so it's great to hear that you were able to like find someone while you were at DePaul. So can you also kind of talk about, you know, Chi Omega has a very rich history, and you know, the Chi Omega was founded many years ago, but the values live on today. So can you talk about, you know, what your favorite value of your organization is and why?
Yeah, so one of the special things about Chi Omega is that we have what's called a symphony, which kind of encapsulates all of our different values that we have. And I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head, and I feel so bad for my sisters in Chi Omega right now. But I think like it was like to be democratic rather than popular, to put academic excellence before social obligation. And that was something that I carried with me throughout all of college and throughout even law school now, and just that'll carry on with me into my professional workplace. We put a lot of emphasis on who you are as a person and the character that you bring to the table. And it's not necessarily about, you know, things that don't necessarily mean a lot, like you know, how you look, how you act, anything like that. It's about like your character and your heart, and you're giving back to the community, which I really loved. And then on top of that, like the academic excellence before social obligation. And I think that really did resonate with me while I was in Chi Omega, because we really put an emphasis on scholarship above all other things. And it was great. I remember during college, I think we had like a chapter-wide GPA of like a 3.6 or something like that. And like all of Panhellenic women like were above a 3.5, which is insane. That's above Dean's List. But I really loved those characteristics just because they are super applicable now during my professional career, of making sure that like it really matters about who the person is rather than like what they look like or how much money they have or anything like that. It's about their experience and their character as a person, and just putting academic excellence above everything else. I think there's so much more that can be done instead of, you know, our social obligations that we have, as we said, in our Chi Omega Symphony.
Awesome. And I love how you kind of spoke about how that has also like resonated for you while you are in law school as well. Because I think we often say it, you know, while our membership in undergrad and fraternity and sorority life only lasts until, you know, you graduate. I mean, there are things that will always stay with you, whether they are the values or the friendship. or the hard work ethic. So it's cool to see how you've kind of felt that like throughout grad school as well. So we are kind of like in the midst of that membership and that joining process for Fraternity and Sorority Life. So kind of what is some advice you would give someone if they are interested in joining the FSL community at DePaul?
Well, first off, I say absolutely do it. I think there's no harm in just trying and see like what happens. I was pretty apprehensive, honestly, my freshman year, like deciding to go through recruitment. I wasn't sure if it was right for me. But you know, I had friends who were like, just see what happens. You don't know you don't know the people that you could meet. And I'm so glad that I did, because it was a great experience. And what I loved more about it is that I was just myself. And that's really what I encourage you to do, is just be yourself during this experience, because you'll end up falling into a place that accepts you for exactly who you are and encourages you to be who you are and be like the best version of yourself. And I am honestly so glad that I did it. I found lifelong friends, both in my sorority, in Pan-Hellenic life, and I don't think I would be the same person if I hadn't gone through recruitment and met my sorority sisters and Pan-Hellenic sisters.
So kind of to go off of that, like what was your favorite memory of being in your organization or Pan-Hellenic, or both?
Yeah, I'll go with both, because there were like, I kind of like made those two roles for the first like 2.5 years of my college experience. I was at Chi Omega, and then I slowly transitioned into serving on Pan-Hellenic. So at least with Chi Omega, my favorite experience was bid day, which I feel like is a very basic answer, but to give context for it, typically during recruitment, for those of you who haven't gone through recruitment, when we are in person, you have like recruitment counselors, and that's like where we disassociate from our sorority and we help new members going through recruitment like figure out where they want to be. But during that time, you can't talk to your sisters at all. You can't like hang out with them in class or on campus. So that was super hard during recruitment. But bid day was the best, because we got to run back to them. And it just felt like my first year all over again, like running home to my home again. But getting to do it both my junior year and my senior year, it was just, I loved it. And then from like a Pan-Hellenic, like fraternity and sorority life context, serving on the Pan-Hellenic board was awesome, because we got to engage with the rest of the fraternity and sorority life, including ISC and the rest of Pan-Hell, and the multicultural council, Greek council too. And we ended up going on a fraternity and sorority life retreat at our favorite place, the Zion, Illinois Beach Resort, which everyone who's been knows how much we love that place. And I got to go once as like a Pan-Hellenic council member, and then another time as like, I don't know, facilitator, I think was my title. Yeah. And it's just great, because you really get to see the entirety of fraternity and sorority life and the impact it makes on all individuals at our campus. And it's also just nice to get outside. You know, sometimes when you go into fraternity and sorority life, you might think like all you have is your sorority, but there's such a larger group and population of people who like have like-minded ideas as you. And that was the one thing I loved about fraternity and sorority life retreat, was just being able to like hang out with everyone and getting to know like why they joined sorority life or fraternity life, and like the impact it had on them. So those would be like my top two memories that I always have.
Yeah. And I know you also had the opportunity to attend some leadership conferences through your role on Pan-Hellenic. You were able to attend like AFLV. I'm sure you also were able to attend a few conferences through Chi Omega as well. So is there any particular leadership lesson or just in general life lesson that you took away from those experiences?
Yes. So I loved AFLV. That was like another amazing experience that we got to do. And for those of you who don't know about AFLV, it was like the American Sorority and Fraternity Life like conference, essentially. There was one in the Midwest and one in the West Coast. We went to the Midwest one, obviously. And we got to see and meet like a bunch of people from all of the different colleges who were in fraternity and sorority life, or like were serving for their own specific sorority or fraternity. Anyway, we got to go to like a bunch of different talks just on like leadership and what it means. And I think the one thing that resonated with me, especially just in terms of being a leader and what it means to be a leader, is to be an empathetic leader was one thing that stuck with me, meaning that like, yes, you are a leader to a certain extent and you make decisions, but being an empathetic leader means listening to the people that you're representing, to the people who have elected you to the position, and taking into account all different viewpoints. I think that's an important point of being an effective leader. And also just a person in general is being empathetic and listening to everyone else. So even if you aren't serving in a leadership role, there's so much value in just being an empathetic listener to other people and having that like human connection to understand where someone might be coming from, especially if it's different than yours. And it's a great way to just like learn and, you know, grow as humans, to understand different viewpoints and hear different viewpoints as well.
I think that's one of like my favorite experiences that our FSL community gets to have, is like going to these leadership conferences and hearing from other leaders what they are going through and be able to have those conversations about how to be an empathetic leader, because your experience is only your experience and there's so many other experiences out there. And so being able to recognize those and being able to have conversations, because I think being on, you know, Panhellenic or, you know, any leadership council, no one else knows what you're going through. And so those are some amazing experiences to be able to have those really hard and challenging conversations.
Absolutely.
So in closing, Kayley, can you tell us kind of, I mean, you talked about, you know, your favorite memories from fraternity and sorority life. What was your favorite memory as a Blue Demon?
Oh my goodness, my favorite memory as a Blue Demon. Okay, so this was my senior year, I believe. Yeah, it was our senior year. And kind of in connection to fraternity and sorority life, but it was still Blue Demon related. I remember my chapter had a mixer with a fraternity, and we went to a basketball game, and which was super fun. And when we got there, we were playing Marquette, I think. And Marquette is like a pretty big rival for us.
Yep.
And I remember when we ended up winning the game, which was somewhat of a surprise to us, if I'm going to be honest. We were super excited. But DePaul was so excited that we were there, just like wanting to mix and support our Blue Demons, that we got like all these free things, like giant blue glasses that would like light up, and like funny hats and like wigs and stuff to try and like get on the big screen essentially. And I'm pretty sure we got on like a few times during it. But that was just like such a fun experience because they were so excited that we wanted to be there to support them. So like they gave us a lot in return for it. So I absolutely love that. That was a really fun experience I had.
That's awesome. Yeah. Going to the basketball games at Wintrust Arena are just like so fun. I mean, there's so much like spirit and pride for being a Blue Demon. So what like a fun memory to have before graduation.
And I think I still have that t-shirt. I think we like DePaul specifically made a t-shirt that said "Beat Marquette" on there with like a DePaul like logo behind it. And I'm pretty sure I still have that t-shirt. You can only wear it in very specific instances, like DePaul versus Marquette, but I loved it. It was such a fun experience, and I still have that t-shirt somewhere.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again, Kayley, for joining us, and best of luck with finishing up law school this year. And
Thank you.
Yeah, and for those of you that are out there, we are going to be having 89 more stories throughout this academic year. So we will see you again. Awesome. Okay. Bye, everyone.